it's time for another brew day video. I'm gonna try to make this quick. I don't like posting up 15-minute videos and whatnot, but I haven't. I brewed last month, but I didn't post a video out of it. It was a spiced Dunkelweizen with cinnamon and orange peels. I'll probably put up a review of that soon, or a tasting. But now I'm doing a porter, or oatmeal porter, and I've got strike water, going, and the oatmeal's over here. I'm gonna cook it first, and then I'm gonna add it to the mash. So I'm making my strike water the amount that the grains is gonna be. So it's 8.5 pounds of Maris Otter, 20 ounces of Crystal 60, a pound of oatmeal, 3/4 of a pound of U.S. chocolate, and a 1/4 pound of black patent. So that's the grain bill. I'm gonna be using US 05 yeast. So I'm gonna mash this one pretty high to make sure that it doesn't get too dry in there. Because last time I did a porter, I used the American early British English stuff, and it always gets too fruity, even if I've had a bad track record with it. So I'm gonna use the US American ale yeast. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm gonna get my strike water going up to the good temperature, and then I'm gonna start mashing in, and then I gotta go to the store and get a water bottle for the proofing the yeast. Previously I had only added it to the water bottle thinking that it was gonna help, but apparently you need to heat it up to about 95. So I'm gonna throw it in the microwave and then proof the yeast that way, because apparently with room temperature water you can kill about half the cells once it hits the water. So yeah, just learned that last month, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, well, it's at the end of the mash now. I just added in some mash out water. I lost not even hardly even a degree in temperature over the 60-minute mash. I nailed the mash though. 154 right on the nose, right after I stirred everything up and added the cooked oatmeal and all that. And surprisingly, I was surprised by that, because before I was actually missing my temps for the past few brews. And I figured out why. When I was heating up the strike water, I took my super accurate thermometer and checked different areas of the kettle, and actually found out the edges were lower in temperature and the center was pretty much higher than the outside. So I waited till the outsides were up to the 170 or whatever I was looking for, and then I added the water in and added the grains, and then I added in the cooked oatmeal, which was probably pretty warm or pretty hot, up to maybe 160. So nailed that. I checked it after 60 minutes. It was down to like 153.3. So like I barely lost any temperature at all, which is really sweet. So yeah, it got really thick. So I'm probably gonna get some good grain absorption. So I'll probably have to have a pretty big sparge, but we'll see what happens. Yep, soaked up a lot of water with all the oatmeal in there. I ended up with about under 3 gallons, like maybe a pint less than 3 gallons, according to my trusty stick over here. But so I'm heating up about 3.5 gallons plus a pint of water. I forgot to mention last time that my my water chemistry, I'm doing half reverse osmosis water, and I'm adding a gram of gypsum and a gram of calcium chloride to the mash and the sparge water with 2 milliliters of lactic acid. And so well, that's I didn't think I was gonna need to use lactic acid, but apparently according to the Easy Water spreadsheet, I wasn't exactly in the range after I added all the stuff, because I'm going to have a little bit more chloride than sulfate, so it's going to be a little bit malty but fairly balanced, I hope. So I still didn't buy the chemistry grade scale or anything, so until I do that, I'm not going to know my exact stuff. So I'll have to do that soon, because I was planning on buying new books and stuff, because I know that John Palmer's coming out with the water book, and I definitely want to get that, because that's going to be, you know, pretty important to me. Even though I think I know a lot about water, I'm sure there's a lot more to learn. I also want to get the IPA book or whatever that Mitch Steele wrote. That would be pretty sweet. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to get this up to maybe 185 or so. Grain bed is sitting at about 166, or yeah, 156, sorry. So yeah, the lautering was pretty slow, and I was afraid it was getting stuck, but it was still running out. Stuff is really thick looking, so this is gonna have a nice body to it. That oatmeal really did the trick, well, as it should have. So we'll see how it goes with the sparge. All right, so we're all done, and I need to wait for this to heat up. And I checked the pre-boil gravity, and it's 1048. So I'm pretty much right on point with the 75% efficiency or whatever. So good, you know, not gonna complain. I've had worse days. So I'd say I got, you know, pretty much exactly 6.5 or maybe a little above that. So we're good to go, and I'll have my 5.5 gallon batch in the fermenter. So I've got an ounce of Northern Brewer at 60 minutes, and then I've got an ounce of Williamette at 15, and that's I just looked at those wrong, but whatever. So that's basically all it's going to be, and then I'm going to put the Whirlfloc at 15 like normal, and then that'll be it. So now I just have to wait for this to start boiling. So we're going at my normal boil strength. It's definitely at, you know, the boiling point, but you just can't tell. That took way too long, and yeah, I found out that the pot was leaning against one of the rear burners, and it wasn't in, like, super full contact or whatever. Whatever. But yeah, it's been about 10 minutes with the Northern Brewer in there, and then at 15 I'll put in the Whirlfloc or the Williamette, and then that'll be it. And then I'll be cooling down. So yeah, if efficiency's good, it should turn out pretty nice. All chilling down now. You know, it's down to about 105 now. I threw in Williamette at 15 with some Irish moss. I got to get rid of that so I can keep using the Whirlflocs. I'm sure it doesn't matter either way. And I threw this in the microwave for a little bit, and it was a little high, maybe 110. So I kind of set in that cold water there, and it was down to about 95. So I dropped it in. So it's the first time I actually proved it at the right temperature. So hopefully I'll get a faster fermentation going. So we'll see how it goes. Finally down to 68, and I got my paint strainer bag on here, and if you're wondering why there's a bunch of IPAs behind me, is because I'd rather them be out and you know, not in the depths of my cellar closet, and I'll forget about them and they'll get old. So yeah, I got a lot of good stuff over here. There's a fair amount of beer in here. I probably got more than 5.5. But we'll see. I'm going to strain it out and then pitch the yeast, and we'll be ready to go. Alright, it's time to finish up the Porter Brew Day video. It had a lag. I poured it in, and it had a lag time of about 24 hours for fermentation with the USO5. But overall, the brew day itself was fantastic. I got to remember next time to let my water heat up a little bit longer than I did before, because of course with heat loss when I pour it in with all that aeration and whatnot, it's going to affect what I get for my mash temperatures. I did miss mash temperature a couple times in the last couple brews, so I'll definitely let it heat up more and check all points around the kettle. But yeah, it took about 24 hours, and then it started bubbling a little bit that night, and then when I got home from work on Tuesday, it was freaking going crazy, and then by Friday it was done. So it's probably down to its terminal already, you know, I'm gonna let it sit in there for 3 weeks this week, and I have Easter with the family back home, so I'm just gonna let it sit in there, because usually 3 weeks with primary only beers is usually what I did in the past. So I sampled the wort. I know it's not a very accurate um, you know example of what it's going to be like, but I did um, through the underlying sweetness, I did taste a lot of milk chocolate with a lot of like caramel toffee type notes. I did use a lot of Crystal 60, so I'm hoping to get that kind of character, that toffee and the milk chocolate. The quarter pound of Black Patent, I'm sure it did have a little bit of roastiness with some light coffee, but it wasn't too strong. So we'll see what it tastes like when I bottle it. I'm sure that'll be the true test. But yeah, I use USO5, so hopefully nothing bad's gonna happen, because I did ferment it at around 65, 67. So no off flavors, no ester, phenolics, whatever. It's not gonna be there. So with the last two pours I made, I used the English ALWO2, and I had gotten some very well. The first one was like fine, but it was just like straight up raisins and apples and whatever. And then the second one, it was a green beer. It did have, in the first 3 to 4 weeks, it was kind of green, which was like kind of fruity and whatnot. And then after that, it turned into more of a porter that I would expect. But it did finish. I had gotten more boil off than I had expected. And I had finished at 1070, and then it fermented down to about 1022, which is just super malty. So this one I wanted to hit the exact style guideline ranges. I mashed it high so that it doesn't get too dry. I used oatmeal to get a nice mouthfeel and hopefully a little bit more back sweetness. But I'm definitely going to use oatmeal again, because with the cooking of it and then pouring it in, that mash was very, very nice with like no heat loss. It was very successful. So I wasn't sure how successful I'd be, but with using oatmeal as the way I was doing it, but it turned out good. So this should be spot on, exactly what I expected, because I hit an original gravity right inside style guidelines. I got IBUs in style, color, everything in style. It's not too dark according to the calculations, but whatever. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I've tried some porters that are more roasty, but I had tried, I think it was the Left Hand Brewing Company Blackjack, I believe it was. It had a lot of caramel forward with the chocolatiness. So I had guessed. Plus I used the Designing Great Beers to make the recipe, and it showed that caramel malt was like #1 on the specialty grains list. So I really kind of used those two ideas and built the recipe on that idea. So should come out pretty darn awesome in my opinion, especially with the clean yeast. So I already explained what I'm going to do, probably do what I'm going to do for the next brew, and I still don't know what it's going to be. But and also next month I'm going to brew that 12 gallons split into 2 6-gallon brew days of that orange spice Hefeweizen, which I will have a review video soon, probably next week if I have that kind of time, but whatever. So, till next time, cheers.